$10 billion. Why now? Jeannie Buss, the family, sells the Lakers to Mark Walter, the part of the Dodger ownership, for $10 billion. Dan Woike, he is the Lakers beat writer, LA Times, joining us on the program. Dan, thanks for joining us. Why sell? Why sell now?
The only answer I've been able to come up with at this point is $10 billion. That's the answer. And it's an interesting thing because that'll be the thing that we learn here over the next few weeks, few months and stuff. No one from the Lakers has still said a peep about this, right? Magic Johnson kind of was the de facto spokesperson. He's the person that has, hands in the Mark Walter camp, obviously very close to Jeannie Buss. So we don't totally know why. Here's what we do know. We know that to sell the team, the way that the ownership thing is structured after Dr. Jerry Buss died, a majority of his 6 children needed to vote to sell. And that majority never existed until yesterday. So that is, I think, the interesting thing, right? Is that always Jeannie was running the team. Jim was involved with the team. He was the sort of executive basketball operations. Famously tried to sue his sister to try to wrestle control of the team in 2017. The older siblings, Johnny and Janie, not that involved. And but Joey Buss runs the South Bay team. Jesse Buss involved in the scouting department. These are people that have day-to-day roles with the organization, and so I think that's kind of what we're learning here a little bit is sort of how this played out that way. It's an interesting, not to get way in the weeds on trust law, but it's an interesting part of the way the ownership was structured. This was always sort of inevitable. The way the deal was structured, Dan, was that this to sound morbid, and I apologize, but if the oldest Buss sibling were to die, it's not like those shares go to next of kin. The pie just gets smaller. It goes from being cut 6 ways to being cut 5 ways. And then it goes to being cut 4 ways. And it keeps getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Sort of a last person standing type of situation. And these are people, genies in their mid 60s and stuff like that. It's a lot of money, Dan. It's a lot of money.
What's it mean for the Laker fan?
I think it's probably good news. It's a little less charming. Right. I think that was one of the things about the Laker organization, especially if you were around the team and you're a fan who goes to games and you see, Jeannie Buss, and you used to be able to tweet at her a lot when she was really active on social media. It was she's a very public person. It's a family business. It truly is a family business. And I think it will lose that. And I'm not sure that's good in total for a league that is losing this all the time because the money is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. But I think it's fair to look to the Dodgers, right? And I'm not suggesting they're going to pay Shohei Ohtani, $200 million to play center next season. That's not how this really works in the NBA. But what you can do is you can pour that money into everything else. You can pour that money into your bench. You can pour that money into your analytics department. You can pour that money into development. Pour that money into the arena. The Lakers, that's another crazy part of this deal, Dan. The Lakers don't own property. It is like a brand, right? That is what you're buying. A lot of times when these evaluations come up for teams, it's, they own their arena. Part of the Warriors evaluation is they've got a huge piece of real estate, right on the bay. That's not the Lakers. The Lakers are a lease to play inside of crypto.com. This is a deal for the brand, but I think it's fair to think that Mark Walter, the way that they've operated the Dodgers, they're going to pour money into this in all the places they can to give the team the best chance to win consistently.
But, in baseball, you can overspend.
You can spend.
Yes, but you can't outspend. The Golden State Warriors did there for a while where they didn't care about the luxury tax,
and then they changed the rules.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. And so, I think that part of it is overstated, right? Look, the Lakers were in the luxury tax. They're repeatedly in the luxury tax. You can point to a couple times in recent history where maybe they cheaped out on something. Famously, kind of Alex Caruso is one of those things, and obviously that was a bad decision. I think, but they're paying. They're not afraid to fire coaches and keep paying salaries. Feels like we do that every 2 years out here right now. That's not the issue. I will say when you talk to people about the Lakers organization around the NBA, generally speaking, the sort of really direct way people describe that is it's a place that does the big things really well and the small things really poorly. And the small things, like they've been getting better at some of the smaller things, but I think it's fair to point to infrastructure when you talk about small things, and like things like beefing up a scouting department, putting more money into that, putting more people on the road, stuff like that. That's where, especially the way the second apron is structured, you've got to hit on your minimum signings. You have to hit when you don't have draft picks. You have to hit on your second round picks. They've drafted pretty well. They've done well with the college scouting. Their pro scouting needs to get much, much better. And I think that's a place where Mark Walter can put a lot of money into it, and I think you can see a difference.
Talking to Dan Woike, the Lakers beat writer for the LA Times. What kind of moves in the offseason with the Lakers do you see?
Yeah. Well, I didn't see new owner. I do see new center. I think new center is the most obvious one. I know, the Lakers have spoken with Luka Doncic multiple times about kind of what that could look like. They know that's a position he needs. They know that's a position they need, right? It's an interesting kind of team building exercise for them because they don't have a ton of assets. Stop me if you heard this before about the Lakers. They need to get better, and they don't have a ton of ways to get there. They have a first-round pick that they can trade either in 2031 or 2032. They have Dalton Connect, their first-round pick from last year. They've got some pick swaps. This is what they traded for Mark Williams before they saw the physical, right? So they have some stuff. I would be looking at centers kind of like Mark Williams around the NBA. That has been sort of their type, right? So like Jalen Duren, Onyeka Okongwu in Atlanta, Walker Kessler in Utah. These are people that I think they're going to try and target. Young centers who kind of fit the next future. Now, whether or not any of these players are available, Dan, another thing. And do the Lakers, if you're not available, do the Lakers have a $10 billion offer to make for Walker Kessler? They don't. Unless they're going to trade Austin Reeves, and they've shown no indication that they are going to trade Austin Reeves. They believe in Austin Reeves. Luka Doncic believes in Austin Reeves. The best Dallas Maverick teams with Luka Doncic had three things generally. They had a good center, they had athletic wings, and they had a secondary playmaker. Kyrie Irving, Jalen Brunson. And neither of those guys are Tony Allen either, right, when it comes to locking guys down on the perimeter. So it can work. I think that is sort of where they're at in terms of trying to figure this out. Athletic wings, definitely a big.
What about LeBron's future?
I mean, boy, well, we know he's not retiring via Amazon commercial. He put that to bed, teased that out last week. He's going to be back. I think he is good enough to keep playing. He has a player option at the end of this month. Early signs were that he would accept it. He may opt out and re-sign as a unrestricted free agent, and again, kind of play this sort of sign me for a 2-year extension, give me an option on the back of that. It's all signs point to him finishing his career as a Laker, and he's not done yet. He was an All-NBA player last year, played some of the best defense I've seen him play as a Laker for a stretch, kind of that January to March stretch, then got hurt. I think the knee injury, Dan, is an interesting injury. It's an interesting thing for him. He hasn't really dealt with something like this. And so, as a 40-year-old, I'm a guy who woke up this morning with a sore elbow somehow. This happens at age, Dan. And he, I think he's going to take his time and get to 100%. But yeah, he's a part of their plans.
Good to talk to you. I know you're on vacation, but I don't know if you're ever
from
truly
the surface of the sun here in Scottsdale, Arizona, Dan. It's 250 degrees.
You're not truly on vacation if you cover the Lakers.
Never.
Not allowed to be. Thank you, Dan.
Thanks, Dan.
Dan Woike.